Oh boy! All right, should we make some stuff?
Yeah, let's make some stuff, or we can fix that. You discovered a bug, did you not?
I did.
I think I broke it. I must have broken it with the.
Let's see. So I'm trying to let's see. If I try to build a wall right here. Oh shit!
He's too good.
I know, right? Okay. How? Let's see. Okay, you're really close. Damn. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, so he should have left a turret there, right?
No, I'm trying. This is honestly really hard to. Yeah, there we go. Oh, he left a turret that time.
Is he not leaving wood? Because your
think it
wood's
was
all gone, right?
Yeah, I think it was that I'm able to lose wood, which was weird. Here, I'll get a bunch of this and we'll try over here.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, one got built, no wood got dropped. Yeah. Okay.
Or how many got built on that tile is my question. Because I don't think there's anything that's preventing us from building wood on the same tile, right?
Whoa, that's a good question. Haha, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
That's part of the problem, perhaps. And I think they're probably there's nothing that stops two woods from getting hit at the same time, right?
Let's see. Let's do one at a time then.
Actually, our damage are early outs, right? It can only hit one. I don't.
So that was nothing.
Okay.
And this, I think, if I yeah,
Okay. So we're no longer dropping wood.
seems that way.
But we're dropping turrets. Well, that's really strange. It should be the same system, right?
Should be. But there is like we have to set up. Let's look at the builder system because I want to move this screen sharing over there. Let's see. We have our spawn builders where let's spawn. Does this do maybe spawn? No. Okay. Great. Spawn builders, great. New builder make, it's got a mode. Where does it mess with the inventory now? Well, here's part of it. The drop type is definitely not set for wood.
Oh, interesting. So this is the bug that we had all along, probably. I thought it dropped wood before, though, right?
This wasn't in the builder system. This was in, or sorry, this wasn't in the builder make. This was in the builder system.
Oh, maybe I deleted that when I refactored it.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And then, so how do we, what's doing our inventory? What's taking my wood? Okay. Oh, is player input what's actually messing with the inventory now? I bet it is. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah.
Oh, and probably before.
This used to also like set the builder drop type. Yeah. That's okay. That seems super reasonable. So
Sounds like there's a printer going on in the background right now.
just a blender.
Oh, nice.
It's like a printer.
Vitamix. Yeah, dropped.
I love my Vitamix, yeah. Cool. And then let's see. I think I saw it happen too, where when we pick up wood, harvest. Yeah, we do actually set drop type to wood because I saw someone harvest a tree and then drop their wood. So cool.
Mm-hmm. So we're good. We've restored sanity to the universe now.
Yeah, we're great. It's interesting how far apart these two things are now.
The input handling versus the builder system.
Just the this drop type management is sort of like if you don't write the same code on both sides, you're in this weird spot. I'd actually like to pass an object around eventually.
Interesting.
Because like you should take your inventory object, stick it in this constructor, and then or in the next event, and then be like, cool, like this thing picks it up, and you don't have to case it. When we have 100 inventory types, we don't have to do 100 cases. Thunder, yes.
Yeah, I mean, this could be like an object. Yeah, you're saying like map these values in a value. Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is sort of this very awkward construction right now, right?
I can just see it going wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like in the way it just did, and then probably in similar ways that will be hard to diagnose.
Yeah, or at least we'd have fall through cases, right? Build turret, build wall would be basically the same case, right?
Yeah. Well, these things are hard to avoid now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think this level is probably not beatable anymore, right?
Oh, it's beatable.
You just need to get good.
Yeah. Get good.
I mean, you look really good right now. You're floating like a butterfly.
Sting like a bee.
Yeah.
I do love bullet hell. I got hit a couple times. Cool. All right, so so the big change from last time and over the weekend. Oh man, this is great. I feel like I'm back in Louisiana or something.
The heat.
The thunder.
Oh. I just heard
got.
It's funny. Are you that much closer? You're like a couple kilometers to the south of me, right?
I was gonna say we just triangulated which direction the lightning is, because yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
The heat too, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the last stream and over the week, this is dope. Yeah. So our input handler is doing everything that comes in through the player moving, shooting, building, and wait, how is builder input different than right click mode?
Builder input is right click mode was a little bit different because I think I needed to.
Oh, I see. This is the number pad 1 through 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Right click mode was about the cursor and like.
Yep.
Really, that could kind of go anywhere. And I think the only other thing that. Right. That's great.
Is that weird? Okay. Yeah.
That's totally fine. And then maybe we can rename the player input state right click mode variable. Like the whole we weren't
yeah.
like thinking super clearly. Like it's probably like cursor mode or whatever.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
Cursor mode.
And then there's the property on the player input state component itself. Or on line 39, if you see that little guy there. Quick mode, you can rename that.
Where's player input state coming from?
It's on the game. Yeah, this is a weird artifact. And the reason why we need that is that both the player input system and the HUD require that state. And so it basically uses this global variable to communicate that information.
Cool. No, that seems fine though.
So the HUD is the only other thing that looks at the mouse. So there are two systems that look at the mouse: the player input system and the HUD system.
Cool.
And those are good because they're both client side, ostensibly, right? If we think about it in netplay terms. 1, 2, 3. Oh man, I totally heard it.
I like that you could actually hear it coming through my headphones too.
Yeah. Can you hear it coming through my mic?
No.
Okay.
Or maybe we were talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so yeah, both of these use the mouse. Yes, both client side. No real way to like you're saying that we don't have to actually worry about like coordinating this data across the server or anything, which I think makes sense.
Or right now we don't have to worry about like if we took all the other systems and moved them into the server, we wouldn't have to worry about them like cross-pollinating information that they wouldn't actually have access to if this was on a network. Like we're ready to refactor is basically the statement here.
Cool. Okay, great. So we were last time talking about adding a delay. Now that we've got this refactored into sort of and importantly these. Let's see if I can. The player input moves, but the handle attack and the handle builder, yeah, they set input on something else. So we get this this is like our event is input on the shooter and input on the next builder. Yeah.
I was also thinking a bit about something that you said last time, and I think you were right. Like I had a counterpoint, and we moved past it, but I think you were actually right. which is about what happens if the server receives multiple player inputs on one of its update cycles. And you were like, do we have to squish those together? And I was like, well, probably we need to like splay those across multiple frames. I'm actually not sure if I agree with myself anymore in hindsight. If you receive like multiple inputs and you're the server saying that the player moved to the right, what do you do with that, right? Like, because it could, like, the player could be cheating. Not that cheating is a huge use case for us, but like, what if you get like 100 move right inputs in one server frame? Do you splay that across the next 100 frames that you simulate? Or do you just say, you know what, I'm going to drop some of these events, right?
As I say, is one, we're also not really simulating that yet because our mover is actually moving directly based on the player input. Should we be switching this also to like, should we add a player mover that does, takes an input? Because I think that might help us sort of be like, if we add a delay and bucket 3 inputs, what will we experience?
Yeah, and then at that point, maybe we're talking about like a tank input system, because if we had multiple tanks, they would like, we don't have to maybe get too far ahead of ourselves, but like eventually the interface to move tanks will be generic such that or maybe a variety of different inputs can move the tanks. Like the tank inputs is the tank mover system knows how to like chew on player input events as well as like AI input events, right?
That makes sense. So yeah, I think tank mover as a system makes sense, and we can basically take this, hand it off with the motion and an entity ID, and then we know that this is just a motion event for the entity that's the player. And we could mix it in with events for whatever other tanks show up.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
It does. I think it's basically just like there is a request to move this tank in a particular direction, right? Because I think that everything else is constant, right? Yeah. Nice.
So I'll just drop this in here. Let's get our you're already there. And let's see. So what kind of stuff we're gonna need? We'll certainly know our game. And we're gonna say, we're gonna need some sort of input buffer, or at least a set of inputs for the now. How are we doing that on builder creator?
Yeah, so the builder creator is basically like a per entity piece of state.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we'll need a component we'll need like the tank mover component basically, and that will receive. That's how we're kind of like transferring events over.
So, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking like, where does input from the network come in? But we'll receive an event. We'll see that it's a tank mover input event, and we'll go and seek out the entity that matches.
Yeah.
And then we'll just put the tank mover event into the tank mover component. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and that's the client to server interaction. I think the server to client interaction is going to be the server says authoritatively this entity is at this position. You know what I mean? Like that's probably it's not a two-way street. It's just purely client to server, and then we're gonna have to figure out the other direction of communication.
Cool. So let's see. Were you thinking? You said tank mover. I wonder if this really is. Is it just a mover too? Like, does anything else move?
It could just be a mover. Tank mover is specific because what we're doing is we're setting an angle, a nullable angle per frame, and if it's not null, then we'll do this whole code that you've got highlighted. And if it's null, then we'll just skip it, right? So probably it's just like a wrapped number right now.
Yep. Tank mover component. And then I'm actually really enjoying that components are sort of coming back. And where's builder creator? Oh, this is where exporting from the systems. Yes. Great. So the tank mover system can export. Yeah.
Yeah, and interestingly, the builder system exports two different components, actually. One for the creator, one for the builder itself.
Mhm.
Which is nice.
Well, I don't think the rain's moving as fast as the thunder, but it's about to get damp over where you are.
Well, apparently you're like 3 or 4 kilometers away. I did not expect it to be raining today. I'm checking the weather.
Neither did I, but after the last couple of days of extreme heat, I'm not surprised.
Dark Sky is not having it, really. It's not able to keep up with... Or maybe this is just the Bay Area microclimates expressing itself. But
Yeah, here, I've got the... I don't know if you can see... Oh, I gotta turn off this ring light. Here's the new iOS weather with Dark Sky, where it's just like, well, it's gonna rain for 5 minutes, and that's all we know.
Oh, I didn't know that iOS weather got updated. Do I? Oh, I need to like upgrade to iOS 10.
14, yeah. This is the beta, but it'll be out in like a month or so.
Oh.
But Apple bought Dark Sky, so now the app is sticking around, but Android is losing it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I have 2 weather apps on my first home screen, and now it'll probably just go down to 1. Although a favorite...
Wait, what are your apps on your first home screen?
Let me show you.
Yeah.
I don't know what the good distance is. Let me read them off to you. I have Instapaper, because I don't really use Instapaper that much, but I like Instapaper. Venmo and Cash App.
Nice.
Wallet. I don't even need that anymore. It was for like when I would go to the movie theater and have, Fandango tickets and stuff, right?
Right, yeah, tickets. Gosh, I remember tickets to things.
I actually have a sub-menu called Food, which is like Phil's, Sweet Green, Starbucks, Caviar.
Yep.
Interesting, I don't put Yelp in there because Yelp I use too frequently, and so it's actually out there by its own.
Oh, funny.
Camera, photos, settings, dark sky, weather. Things, that's my current checklist, to-do list app of choice.
Do you like it? I've been thinking about going for that one.
They nickel and dime you. You have to pay like for every single platform. I think their iPad app is like $20. However, it is very simple and it keeps a history, which is nice.
That's pretty good.
I tried Notion, but gosh, their UI is rough. It's
The
really rough.
to-do list stuff is gnarly. Yeah.
Like I use a lot of / to like say like this or that, and the / actually triggers their whole like creation menu.
Ugh.
And so there's all kinds of like autocomplete in their UI that like I literally use it for like 60 seconds and I'm like, this is killing me. And
Their shit's
that's just
rough.
what I'm used to. It's not their fault necessarily. Yeah. So sorry.
I interviewed there too, right? Did I tell you that I talked with them?
You did not know. How'd it go?
Really well. They were super interesting, but they definitely have like ambitions to be everything, which I
Yeah.
like. They're on the way to doing everything. But
What was the name of their new head of engineering? Did you talk to him at all?
I did, and I forget.
He
was really nice.
He's really cool. I really liked him.
Yeah.
The people there seem awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But like, no, it's just like every time I use it, I feel like it gets a little more complex. I'm just like a little more lost, and I really want them to succeed because I like the mission and the vision. But like, dang man.
Yeah, and if it's literally just down to these tiny little uncomfortable pieces. Like I'm just used to Dropbox Paper, right? And it's just there in the browser. And Notion is just like 30 milliseconds slower on every interaction. I think even keystrokes, it's just a little slower. And I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do
That's
this.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google Maps, Google Calendar, Slack, 1Password, Authy, Safari.
Have to.
Yep.
I'm really I'm still gonna switch to Firefox when it's possible because I just want some other browser.
Yeah. Firefox is great. It's awesome. It's gosh. Clock for alarms, contacts, phone, Gmail, Discord, and then Bose Connect for these headphones. Although I hardly use it anymore because I'm plugged in most of the time. That is my home screen.
That's a good home screen.
Thank you.
I'm in the widget land, which is getting a little wilder.
Oh, nice. I love it.
I like it. It's gonna be a really nice upgrade for people.
Yeah.
But also, I have to like rethink the home screen. I'm just waiting until it launches because everything's in the wrong place and I'm kind of lost.
I work with a lot of Windows phone people now because I'm at Slack. I work on the desktop app, and so there's a lot of people that are like who have worked in like native app world, and there's a lot of bitter Windows phone developers who are like, the tile interface. We had it first.
Yep. Yeah, because it's exactly Windows Phone, which I love, but
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so wait, you said something very important a second ago, which was the tank mover for the player is going to be like angle based, but the tank mover for an enemy tank is going to be like, here's the position.
It's more about yeah. So I think you're right, and I think that's a little bit tricky because it's a difference between like, does the server or does the AI tell the enemy tanks? Does it like say, here's the impulse that you have this frame, and then physics it out, which is basically the same thing as the angle, or does it say, no, I've done it already. You are at this position, right?
How do you feel about this as our next input type?
I feel like maybe we cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
And it might be a different system. Like,
because it's interesting because at some point, like the player itself might need to get corrected in the same way. Like we actually need to receive a player event that's like, actually your transform is like right over here instead.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what are our angles all 45 degrees right now?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, that's correct.
So honestly, maybe what this should be is that it's the player requesting northwest, north, northeast, west, south. Like that's probably what it should be rather than communicating the angle.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like the player just should not be doing the math here. It should just be saying like, this is the input for this is the input this frame.
Yep. So up and left is yep. I totally agree. Okay, so we're gonna need.
Do we have this in an enum anywhere? It feels like it'd be generally useful to have the cardinal directions, like the eight-way cardinal directions.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
We got this. Might as well add the rest.
Maybe a second enum is probably the right thing to do there because I think there's probably some pieces of code that assume that this only has 4 components in it.
As I say, does anything
even use this? Yeah. Looks like it does.
Yes, our collider. Cool. I mean, it's actually.
Yeah, and these switches, it's nice for them to be like maybe we need to like 4-way direction and 8-way direction just to like contrast between those concepts. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. So maybe this is. I was gonna say, or it's like collision direction and move direction.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that? Except I kind of want to be direction collision and direction move because I really like having the.
Yeah, and that one you can do it like a rename symbol, so it'll like.
I saw it happening. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And really, do you even need to?
No, I don't even know why we added the.
I think we. Yeah, I don't know.
We didn't do any serialization. Maybe we did it because we wanted to like debug and we wanted like console log the values.
I don't remember.
I like it. What you just did.
Great. Cool. So let's see. So going back to. I was going to mess with that, but we don't need that. Going back to the player input. Actually, let's look at the tank input. So our angle is actually not an angle anymore. It's a
direction. Yeah.
Requested direction. Yeah. And it's going to be direction move. Beautiful. actually, here, let's just take that and bring this over to the tank mover.
Yep.
And not use it for a second. So let's see. Instead, what we're gonna say here is game.player.tankmover. Oops. I have to add this to the player entity in a second. And what do we call it? Next input?
Mm-hmm.
What is this tripping out on? Did I actually name it wrong? No? Oh,
It just needs
never
to
got it.
import, I think.
Oh, I probably need to call it a tank mover component too.
Good call.
Sweet. There we go. And then this is just requested direction. This is direction. Boy, I'm going to hold on to these just because I feel like I'll want that in a second. So up and to the left is direction equals direction move dot northwest.
Yeah.
Up and to the right is northeast. I guess this is north. Okay, and same direction equals direction move dot down and left is southwest. East. God, this is really good autocomplete.
Yep.
Direction move dot west and direction move.
We keep saying this, but like TypeScript makes a very compelling case to like write everything in TypeScript. It's really good.
So much. And man, I started the first TypeScript project in my company 2 weeks ago, and a couple people were just like, "Why do we need TypeScript?" And I'm like, "Just you gotta trust me. Wait and see."
Yeah, I mean, the reason why you asked that question is either you just don't know that it's better, or you just haven't worked on anything on it at any level of scale, where like more than like 10 people are working on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is exhaustive. Oh no, because it's nullable. Doy.
Yeah, so I guess if we say if direction is undefined in that, because you might not. No, that's fine. I think what we want is line 84 should be in an if block.
Oh, right.
Because you might not be hitting any buttons at all. In that case, you're not requesting a direction. In that case. And maybe that we should probably set next input explicitly to null, right?
Let's see. So that means next input.
You already have that or null there on line 7, so you're good.
Man, I forget that that's not the optional. Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, cool. All right, so let's actually grab the player index real quick. E dot tank mover equals new tank mover component. And I don't know. Put that up by the transform, I guess.
What did you just do right there? What is that HUD?
In VS Code, if you hold down Option and the up and down arrows, it just moves lines.
That is sweet. I bet Sublime has that. I just didn't even know.
Honestly, I think it's like a Vim thing because I've accidentally done it in Vim a lot. But I really like it, and it just sort of clicked as one of my normal shortcuts. And man, you move a lot of lines around, it turns out, and it's really handy. And you can do like whole blocks, which is great.
Oh, nice.
And I guess it's indenting appropriately as I go too, which is.
Wait, so Vim has a hold a key down and then move around thing, or is it?
It must be a mode to like grab a line and then like move it down because I've just done it accidentally. No, the corded thing is VS Code only, I think, and it probably Sublime.
Yeah.
But I like it. Okay, cool. So game.entities.entities. We're doing find. Is that how we've been doing stuff recently?
I think we just for loop over the ID.
For
We do
loop
like
over-
for const ID in game.entities.entities. I think that's more or less
Oh,
because
cool.
we need access to the ID as well.
Fair. I was gonna scope it to tank movers now, but that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah, that's fine too. Doing it this way allows you to.
It's like you get the entity and then you can operate on it if it's not. Yeah.
Or it's not, or you can actually tell the type checker it actually has this component, so you don't need the exclamation point or the question mark anymore, because you're basically, when you do like an if statement, it refines the type of that object into a non-nullable according to the type checker.
That's great. Yeah. Cool. T equals game.entities.entities ID. And then if
you could say like if it doesn't have a transform or it doesn't have a tank mover, then you can continue.
Yep. That's. I didn't realize that this was actually what was getting us out of the exclamation points everywhere, and I love it.
It's not 100% type safe because you can call a function passing that. I think it's not smart enough to know the side effects of function calls. So if you pass the entity into a function that nullifies that property, I don't think. Well, I guess we could try. Like I don't think that like it's smart enough to know that, because that's a halting problem thing, right? You'd actually have to kind of
yeah. That would be a lot of work, but this is good. I like this. We should not be nullifying properties in our systems, I hope.
Yeah. And then
okay.
the stuff on line 18, that's how ECS systems, a lot of them work. It's a little bit suspect because like if you have tank mover but you don't have transform, that should be like an initialization error, right? And maybe it feels like the oh yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. It feels like this is a little bit it's not as type safe as it possibly could be, but that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so really, we're going to do this whole switch statement again on angle.
I was thinking, per your advice before, that we can make an object wherever we're defining the direction that looks up the direction, right?
I love it. Did I say that? That's a great suggestion.
You did say that, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, but the fact that these are, yeah.
You want to do that? That's weird. I don't like that the value will be very strange. But we could.
Oh, I don't hate this at all. No, this is great.
Okay. Great. Let's see. Northeast is negative math dot pi over 4. East is
it positive or negative?
I'm looking right here.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's why I kept this around, because I was like, I'm gonna want this later.
Oh yes, this is right, because it's right hand rule. It's counterclockwise.
Southeast. South is just math.pi. Southwest is math.pi minus math dot. West is math.pi over 2. This is a cute way to do this. Sick.
It feels so strange to do enums with
math
with floating point numbers.
Yeah, this is valid though, huh?
I think it's totally valid. Yeah.
Cool. Great. Then
then it is the angle. It like
Yep, it is exactly the angle. But it's gonna be entity dot tank mover dot. I actually like this a lot. Dot next input dot requested direction. That reads really nicely. bit of you, and a little bit of you. And really let's see, so.
That did a little bit more damage than you wanted, I think.
Yeah, is there a delete line shortcut? Because that's really what I want.
Control X, is it? No.
Not here.
Control K. Not Control K.
No, the Control K is cut. Let's see what else I got.
Unfortunately, not. I may not.
Yeah, that's okay. I bet I can say delete line. Thanks, Sublime or VS Code, whatever this is.
Right.
So let's see. Handle move input no longer uses DT. Wow, it just cleaned that up itself a while ago. That's delightful.
Yeah, and then the whole player input update doesn't take it anymore. Actually, which is nice.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That feels good. Cool. And then I was going to say I'm going to move these constants into the tank mover.
Yep. Beautiful.
Because these are tank values now. Tank and tank. Grab the tile size. Cool. Let's see. So
this is really minor, but in the game update, you want to stop passing DT into the player update system.
Thank you.
It's probably not going to complain. Well, it's not at runtime. It won't complain, but the type checker will complain.
Sweet. And surprisingly, this isn't working because gotta call it.
Mm-hmm.
That one's DT. And the systems probably should be aware of what's going on here. Boy. Fine. All right, cool.
That was awesome.
Up doesn't work.
All right.
Probably because it's 0. Start there. That's almost always the answer because direction not equals undefined. There we go.
Oh, yes.
It's fucking numbers in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think that, and then this one actually I don't think needs to be networked. So that fully puts all our input in the sort of like next input state.
Yep.
Cool.
They're all just signals.
Mm-hmm.
And you can easily see how the bullet system could also send signals to damageables and say, like, hey, you've got mail. I just hit you. And then the damageable can decide, like, no, I don't think you did anything to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm super interested about, I was thinking knockback is going to be a really interesting thing to maybe try to implement over the network too. And I was like, we could do it now, but I don't want to do it till we actually can tell the player, like, you've tried to move this direction. Also, like, you've got an impulse in that direction, so resolve it.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked on that. Okay. Well, what next? And I started this off by saying you were talking about adding delay, and then realized that there was a thing we couldn't delay. So
I think we have to do the major surgery now. Like, we got to, like, we're at the point where we need to, like, amputate the arm, I think.
Okay. I'm gonna commit this because we're about to. I'd actually like to see the
diffs. Yeah.
The diffs.
Good instinct.
Done 30 of these, dude. That's weird.
Wait, was it not 30 last time?
No, last time was 29, I thought.
This is like a real part of our lives now, right? Blink and you miss it, but like this is
I don't usually do stuff this long. This is great.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I was thinking we should reconsider our marketing approach, like, sometime soon.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. It'd be nice to start to get people involved in it. I'd love to bring other folks on to, like,
Yep.
At least the stream. Like, there's the sort of like, there's two different angles of it. Is this about the stream or is it about the game? I'd say right now it's double bottom line. It's kind of both, you know?
Mhm.
And then there's probably more we can invest in either of those things right now.
Yeah, I think I was maybe a little extra squirrely about like inviting like scrutiny of this before like we committed, but we've done a lot of stuff now.
It's like a real thing, and we've got like a real flow to it. It's got its own personality, right?
Also, we've written like a heck of a game engine so far.
Yeah, we've got a game engine. Yeah. But, you know, like, obviously, if we bring somebody on, it would be nice if they felt like they had an audience that we was talking to. So
Exactly.
this is the sort of weird chicken and the egg bootstrapping problem, right? Like, there are kind of fun things we could do. We both know great programmers that could come on. It would be weird if they were on and we were, like, talking to the 0-person chat room that we normally have, right?
Isn't it strange?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about that recently, so maybe we can brainstorm that off stream too. But
Yeah, totally. And I think
30,
the Zoom
30
thing,
feels like a lot.
the Zoom thing actually works really well. There's probably a lot of our like OBS hygiene that can be cleaned up, which is these dope ass like intermission screens and stuff.
Yep.
Music. Yeah.
And yeah, we could have a actually what'll be really cool is different scenes, so you can switch from Three Faces talking to Three Faces in code, and that'll probably be like the thing we want.
Are you saying we should be
Yeah.
using Do you know
Using
that
what?
service? There's that service called and it's
No.
basically
Is this? Am I gonna find anything?
search for chat.
I did. Now it's just like, what does that mean when I see that in chat?
I think it might be more. Oh yeah, maybe two M's.
Let's drop the word software.
Or
Whoa.
video chat. I might have.
Two M's on both
yes.
sides.
That's a terrible name. It's a palindrome at least. This is basically like you can do sort of like newscast style transitions in a Zoom meeting if you're doing presentations or stuff. So you can like focus on your face and then put your face to the side and it like brings your slides up. And
This is really cute. Of course, God, we're terrible.
yeah.
Yeah, post-pandemic, I'm glad. I've been expecting video chat companies just to be everywhere.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody last week, and I realized that and this may be true for you as well. I've only ever, in my days of working in the web, I've only ever worked for companies with 5 letters in the name.
That's really funny.
So when I moved to New York City, I worked for a company at the time that was technically their name was Gotham Software Development, but their DBA was Maybe Labs because the product we worked on was called Maybe, and it was like the Maybe button on your calendar invites, but for everything. It's basically like Instapaper for everything, right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. The idea of it was great. It's probably a little bit too early. Like now that we machine learn everything, because like what they wanted to be able to do was like bookmark everything and then like value add extra links and stuff around it. So if it's like you're on a page that or a newspaper article that talked about a concert, you just like maybe that, and then like you come back later and it would like have the link to Ticketmaster for you and all that stuff. Super high concept, very of its time, I think. Then I worked for IFT, also 5 letters. Then I worked for Chain.
Chain.
And then I work for
And
Slack.
Slack.
And you're for Amada now, which is also 5 letters, right?
Yeah, Amada, Chain, but I had sequence and Pogo or Interstellar and Pogo in there.
Oh, okay. Those are all Chain, though. Come on.
Yeah, I know they were all Chain.
Yeah.
Bearded and Heroku break that down too. So
Did they actually change the company into Sequence?
sorry to Interstellar.
Interstellar. Okay. Yes.
I just forgot what Interstellar did. Nothing. But
Pogo. You had evolved to the 4-letter thing, right? That was cool.
yeah, Pogo was it was a more enlightened time. We only needed one fewer letter to really talk about what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
you
yeah,
know,
damn.
There are
You've got
also
a good streak
companies out there that I've thought about working for. Stripe, also 5 letters.
Wait, no, that's not true at all.
What, Stripe? Stripe is 5 letters, right? STR. Oh, that's 6. Yeah, that's 6.
That's why I didn't work there.
Yeah,
You can't do
exactly. Yeah, that's too much. I couldn't handle it.
software companies with 5-letter names. Come on, Google.
It's literally everything.
Yeah. As I say, you can go work for Apple. You can't work for Google.
No.
But look, you could wait. Sorry, hang on. I need to get rid of this. You could be working at Zugu.
Ugh.
Wow, this is where so many startups come from.
I like
hate
that
it.
Yafly. That's a cool name.
Yafly, Yafly, Luxfy.
Is it Yafly? Okay, that's a little. I like it a little bit less.
Yafly. It's Yafly if you pronounce it that way. Nagley. It's your name as a service.
Yeah, I love it. It's like pickup artist as a service.
It should really be neg.ly.
Yeah.
Lord, this is a terror. Okay. I'm sorry I looked any of that up. So what is the rocket surgery I'm about to do?
Okay.
We're about to do.
So I think what I'm thinking about is that the game update is separate. Maybe even if we want to go way intense, we're still going to be communicating with shared memory, so it's going to be a little while till it fully is realized. But I even think maybe at main.tsx, it might be up there where the request animation frame and the other thing that's updating are separate. So the request animation frame we treat as the client side. And then see line 54 game loop? Below that, we have a set interval.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That
I like it.
calls, or a set timeout that then re-enqueues itself, right? Either one, right?
I like set timeout because I kind of want to throw some random.
Exactly. If we wanted
I
to,
want to
yeah, that's exactly. If we wanted to do random jitter on the delay, yeah, server. Let's call it maybe server update is probably
Yep.
It might not be over network.
Great point. And then this is going to. Oh my God, where did those cursors come from?
Yeah.
All right. Oh boy. And then are you suggesting that this is what's happening? And in fact, DT is a very different value now.
It's a very different value. And then there is a game.update for the request animation frame, but it's like the client input handling.
Okay. Yeah. So this is.
So it's different systems, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we're going to see the benefit of the system breakdown right now because we're going to have like client update and server update, and they're going to be updating different systems, right?
I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay, cool. So actually, okay, this value of DT can continue.
Yeah. We just maybe where it says like let pre-frame time, maybe we can move that down using your trick, and then that should be like the client pre-frame time, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Using my trick. Yeah, I agree.
And then game loop should be client loop, right?
Yeah, I mean it is the. I feel like it's the game loop though, because we don't have a network loop necessarily. We only respond to messages. This is like the totality of the game loop, isn't it? We can call it client loop.
It's just because we have the server loop sitting there, but like.
I guess I'm just because I'm not thinking about it as a loop. Like the server, like this should not be what it is. It
I think I see what you're saying. Like eventually eventually lines 55 and below are going to get cut out and run in a different program is basically what you're saying, right?
Exactly. They're just like some other thing.
Okay.
But
while they're in the same
let's do it like this for now because well it'll be very easy to undo that when we want it. So I'm actually going to call this then server loop. Oops, and this is server update.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then then let server prev message time No, it's not. It's not really a frame.
It is.
It?
It is a frame time from. Let's assume that the lines from 55 below are from the perspective of the server. So like it is. It's frame time in that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Oops.
Awesome. So
Oh boy.
that's
all right.
That's some shit.
I see
right
what's
there,
happening.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Update. View. This happens.
And to be honest, the server, maybe client and server is the right language because the server might be running locally as well if we're playing like one player version, right? Like we could probably just run it all in. We could probably just run it all in the browser,
yeah.
right?
And that's kind of what I was thinking, is that we'll know if it's working if you can connect to like your own server and just play by yourself, which is cool.
Yes. Okay, so now we got to
Alright,
figure out what to do
well.
as a result of this, and this is going to be really hard. This is already going to be like a lot of work.
Yep.
But I have faith in you, Dom.
Let's start off by.
Yeah.
I know. I picked a good data pair. All right. Okay. Well, that game still plays.
Mhm.
So let's see. The thing we know that is going to move is this, and really, I feel like this is maybe a huge chunk of it. So let's start there.
We could copy and paste the content of client update into server update and then edit each one based on a judgment call and then see what falls out of that.
Right? Yeah.
The camera is going to be interesting because that's actually one thing we haven't factored out yet, and I wonder if the camera, like the game, well, any of the simulation logic relies on the camera position. I don't actually know, but we'll see.
That's a great question. Okay, so now this is going twice, and I took the player mover out of both. So that's fine.
Okay. That's fine. Or the player input handling, you mean?
The player input. So let's put that in server update.
The player input handling will be in the client update, actually, because that's the side where the player input's coming in, and then the player input system should be sending events over to the server.
Nope, totally with you.
Yeah.
Right. So then actually the tank mover
Is not in the client.
is on the server.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Cool. I'm gonna undelete that. Okay. Ooh, can you see this?
It looks choppy.
Yeah, it is choppy. Because can you see the difference in motion between the player and the bullets?
Yeah.
The targeting is smooth and the firing is smooth. Wow, wait, there is some stuff going on here, man.
Yeah.
So actually, like, oh, this is wild.
I'm actually surprised this works as well as it does, because we're simulating twice using the same data, right? We didn't duplicate the entity list, right? It's the same for the client and the server.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it's already weird. Oh, no, entities have to be different. Okay, wait, should we...
Well, we need entities in the client and the server because we render off of them, right? It's just that...
Yeah, no, I get it, because, yeah,
Yeah.
part of the client update needs to be sending a message to the server to, like, register. Like, we're going to say, like... Or rather, the server needs to init the map, tell the client what entities exist, and then the client needs to be like, this entity ID did a thing.
Yeah. And then if we go to main.tsx, I actually even think structurally it needs to be more complicated than what we just did.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where... like, line 50 and line 51 are operating... I mean, this is fine in theory, but what render is going to be operating on is a combination of data that you received from the server, which is older than line 50, right? Like, data received from, like, necessarily older than what whatever state is on line 50, right? Because the
Correct.
client update is like ahead of the last server frame that you received.
Mhm.
So line 51, the render, is basically whatever you did, whatever the server told you to do, plus whatever prediction you've added on top of it, right? So
Yeah, but isn't that I would expect client update to be what sorts that out, right? Like it's essentially this function is going to be 100% prediction in my expectation.
it's
Like
prediction and
it's
input handling. Yeah, you're right actually. So we're
Yeah.
we're good right now, I think.
Yeah, I think this is correct. We just have too many duplicate systems, but the client update should be either taking a server value and being like so the hard what I think is the hard part, and I think what you were getting at is when the server sends a message that's like 50 milliseconds ago, the other tank was over here. Client update needs to be like, what do I do?
Yeah.
That's so is that render, I guess?
I think for now we're okay
Okay.
in the sense that
Render actually feels really clean. Render is just like
yeah, just read
It's-
the state and do the thing. It is
Yeah.
our React, right? It is our
yeah,
just
it's splatting data on the screen. I feel good about that part. Yeah.
Um, the challenge on the client side eventually, we're not doing any prediction yet, so that's fine. But when we do prediction, the challenge will be how do we keep separate the stuff that needs to be rendered, which is a blend of prediction and our last server state, and the thing that I just said, which is your server state. Because like you can't just clobber the server state. You need to know you need like an absolute sense of what the server state is, because you need to basically be able to predict off of that this frame and next frame. Because you might be predicting multiple frames on the client side for every single server frame that you receive, right?
Yeah, so really it might be something where in the tank mover. Oh, come on, just go there. Just want to go here. We get our DT, and I think we'll actually, and maybe it's like tank mover input needs to be like last server frame. Is it timestamp?
They will be timestamps are fine. Yeah. What you
yeah.
want is something that's monotonically increasing and easy
Right.
to compare.
Well, and specifically, like we can see how many, like if we count this, we can see how many seconds it's been since we've talked to the server. You can basically like figure out how long you're predicting, and then when you get the next server frame, or maybe it's like last server frame and like current client frame, because when you get and this is like these are the values for prediction, not for rendering. So it's like when we get a new server frame that's like 10 behind the current client frame, we have to like unimpulse ourselves by 10 frames and like apply the server or something.
Yeah, I do wonder if
It's gonna be hard.
I think the way this works, if our systems are nicely separated out, what you can do is buffer your entities. So you literally have duplicate arrays of entity state. And you'll say one of those arrays is like, that's authoritative, the last thing we got from the server, right? And then you have several frames worth of input that are on discrete frames, and that's your prediction, right? Your prediction is basically, I'm going to like literally run the systems that move stuff around using these multiple frames of client input handling. And that's going to give me yet another new array of entities that is my predicted reality, and I'm going to render off of that, right?
Yep.
So there's like the
Interesting.
reality of the server that I last received. There is a bunch of intermediate input that I've gotten that the client is assigning to multiple frames of input. And then the simulation that you run over that in the client side is going to yield your predicted state, which is what you render off of.
And do we keep? So it's like we have always two distinct entity lists, right? Or the last server one, and like to generate a new server, and we take a server event, apply it to the server list.
Exactly.
And then the entity list is always moving forward, and then at some point we decide. Yeah. Okay. Ooh,
But
gosh.
I think right
Yeah.
now, this is great to be talking about this stuff, but right now we don't need to do any prediction at all. And in fact, we can have just like one entity list.
Okay.
And not only that, we're sharing the entity list between the client and server for now.
Mhm.
And maybe that's, if we can get that far today and get it working, I'll be shocked and amazed and pleased. But maybe the thing to do next time is to split the entity list from the like to actually duplicate the entity list between the client update and the server update.
Okay.
Right now, they can be the same as long as we have some reasonable assurance that the systems are just touching, like the client update is only allowed to touch this stuff on the entity list, and then the server update is only allowed to touch the other stuff, right?
Fair. I'm going to start bucketing systems because we're not going to run the same system in two places, right? And maybe if we do, we'll have a common folder, but
We will, in the sense that once we do prediction, like I was saying,
yeah.
the client is going to use the same roles as the server to handle like prediction. It's just not, yeah, it's not going to be authoritative. So, like, I actually think it's okay that we don't. I know what you mean. Like, maybe there's like a folder of client exclusive systems that you probably know you're not going to run on the server, right?
I'm getting and I kind of just feel like some of these. Yeah, I feel like even the predictive behavior will be like take the server implementation and like call it.
Yeah.
But like also do something separate with the data as part of the system. So we'll see. Well, these folders won't be in get yet. So
maybe even like this is one possibility. Like I can think of other possibilities. There's like client versus simulation. Like maybe that could be the logical contrast, where a client means everything that's exclusive to the client, and simulation is stuff that's could be run on the server, but maybe also run for prediction purposes on the client as well.
Yeah, I like that.
I can think of it like yet another way we could think of it is almost like model view controller sort of thing, where like the view is all of our rendering code, the controller is all of our input handling code. Probably the controller stuff and the view stuff will run only on the client, and then the model is the simulation, right? And that is run for both on the server and in terms of prediction on the client side, something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways we can slice and dice it, but I like where you're going with the idea of using folders for this.
Yeah, I just feel like our systems are about to balloon in a good way.
That's right.
Okay, so let's see. I have a hunch. I'm just going to start doing this, but I don't think playfield clamping runs in the client anymore.
No.
Because only server events should be doing that. Yep. I guess it's interesting. I already know it works because like the system is being applied once.
Yeah.
Because we're using the same entity list, and that's interesting.
So is the code that we're looking at right now, is this the client update?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, wait. I got an idea.
I bet the client update is literally just going to be like player input right now, and maybe the HUD stuff as well.
I think you're correct.
If we did everything else right.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm just going to put them both side by side.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying actually that we can maybe toss everything but player input, and the game should work. And I think that's correct.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a funny ordering problem with the transform initialization because we're sharing state right now, but I think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This still runs on that. This is still client stuff.
Yeah, and then does our HUD? Oh, emitters should run on the client side.
Emitter should run on the client side. Yep. Cool. What the fuck is that? Awesome. Okay. So this is really interesting. Yeah, because is it that transform init actually? This maybe needs to be run.
I think this is the ordering problem where the camera needs to update after the server is updated.
Okay. camera needs to up. I mean, right now it is, which is interesting.
No, I mean, it should be fine, right? Like,
Yeah. Hang on. So maybe the question is, what did I take out that broke this? Because it should have been working just fine. Was it the state management? So it's this. It's the state management, apparently.
okay.
Possibly because we never start the game.
Oh, I see. We never start the game before. Okay, so I think maybe what this is we have to ensure that the game, the server runs at least one frame before the client runs.
Yeah, here we go. Right. Player.damage wasn't there. There's a whole bunch of stuff that just doesn't
What
happen.
if in main.tsx
We start game.
Yeah, or we ensure that the server runs first. We like manually run the server one frame or something like that.
Okay. Yep. And you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense because like the client should not start simulating until it sees like a success from the server. It's like, yes, you're in the game. We've got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So really, we're just gonna say server loop. Oh, but we're gonna have to do. Okay, hang on. Actually, it's more like this. You know what it actually is?
Yeah, it's way down there, right?
It's here, and it's part of our set timeout. So actually, we wait for the network event, and then we call server loop, which re-enqueues itself, but this is synchronous here, and then we call client game loop, which starts the simulation looping. Yep.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And so the first set timeout could be 0?
Could be. It's just simulated network call at this point.
Okay, got it. I see what you're saying.
But yeah, I was like, this is asynchronous. You should start the game.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But you're right. I'll make 0 because it don't matter. Cool. That's still one jank game.
Okay.
Interestingly, so I think it got worse because when we were simulating it twice, we were at least getting like a couple more frames in here.
Yeah.
So now we're down to, I think, what is a lot closer to 10 frames per second.
Oh, okay.
Which is what it should be, right? Like
Yes.
if I change this to half a frame a second, we should. Whew. Wow, you don't even see some of the bullets go.
Yeah.
I actually
I'm impressed, actually.
I was going to say, I think this is running significantly slower than
One.
a tenth of a frame a second. Yeah.
It could be because the server update and the animation frames aren't interleaving correctly.
I wouldn't expect. It feels like half as slow though. Not like
Yeah.
Actually, we can maybe. Just curious what the DT value it sees is. No, it's a solid tenth of a
close.
second.
Yeah. But again, like I would expect I would expect the render, the client DT to also be like 0.016.
Yeah.
Because it's probably at 60.
Yep.
But if they're not interleaving correctly, then it's possible that like you're rendering the same server state like a bunch of times in a row.
Yeah, that makes sense. So wait, let's make sure everything is taken out. So our
Transform init probably shouldn't happen here.
I don't think it's necessary anymore. No, that was just debugging. So our current client input is.
And then I actually don't even think 204 is necessary, right? All the entity cleanup should be happening on this in the simulation.
Cool. Yep, I agree. Emitters here, camera, keyboard, and mouse updates all happen here.
Yep. Great.
So then server update is everything but player input and
no emitters.
This is interesting actually. Nope, that
we can keep this. I think we can keep the state this is like special stuff that let's just worry about later. I think we can keep it as long as like the server's still running in the browser. Like
I agree.
and then all that stuff is gone.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a note. Fix me. This should be a client event.
Yep.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. I don't know if you could see earlier, but the mouse movement was actually the mouse reorientation was very clear, or very smooth. And now the turret is also moving at like what feels like a pretty low frame rate. And is it? Let me see if it's because of transform init. Oh, I guess you know what? It's probably because our shooter system just only updates every 1/10 of a second. All right. Whew. Okay.
So what if we improve the frame rate in main.tsx? Like, what if we said that it was rather than 100? Let's just say it was, yeah.
So if we do this, plays pretty well to me.
Okay. Yeah, and there's still an interleaving problem, right? There's still a problem of like the anim frame and the server update maybe not quite being in lockstep. So you're gonna get what's known as judder, which is that you like maybe simulate only once per multiple render frames.
Gotcha.
And the prediction is what smooths that out, I think. But this is not horrible, right? It's bad. Like, I mean, 3 out of 10, you know?
I was gonna say, at least to me, the game feels like it felt before, which is something. Yeah, sorry, it looks perfectly smooth to me. So if you're losing frames, it could be.
It's just a zoom in that case.
Yeah. I would say it looks like it's moving at a solid 60.
Okay.
Maybe 50.
Yeah. What if we did the server update 1 divided by 30? How does that feel?
It's still pretty good, but I've never been one of those people who's like all about frame rates.
Yeah.
Let me see the other version of this, which is 100th. Yeah.
I'm actually impressed that worked. 1 out of 100, because it means that we successfully separated render and input handling. We didn't accidentally enqueue input.
Well, okay, hang on. I got a notion, which is actually that I think this is returning 0. Yeah, so sorry, this should be more like 1,000 divided by 60. We're in set timeout land. I was doing it wrong. 60 is good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, 30 is starting to
chug along a little bit. Yeah.
It just feels like it's 30. Yeah, there we go. And 15 is just hot garbage. And then going down to like 5 is very, very bad. Okay, cool. So that makes me feel pretty good to see that 60 is in fact
not bad. Ooh, that was cool.
Yeah. I think I divided by nothing.
Yeah. This is cool. We're actually seeing what it looks like with no prediction. This is an amazing laboratory that we've created, actually, because it's proving a point pretty closely. Yes.
Right, because... Yeah, so it's interesting, actually, what we... Right, because the event we're sending to the player right now is move in this direction, and we're handing you a... we're just handing you a time delta. We're handing you 1/10 of a second and saying you moved this direction for this long, and that's it. Now
we have one user in chat, by the way.
What's up?
Graffordia. How's it going?
What's up, Graffordia? Are they trying to sell something, or are they
I don't know.
a real
They might
human?
be a bot. I don't know. But it's actually like a fairly well-formed username, although I don't think those are exclusive in Discord. So,
Boy,
at any rate, we appreciate your presence.
Yeah,
whether you're marketing or not.
You know, interestingly, it's a lot harder to send out multiple builders. My right click seems like it's actually getting tamped down. Maybe because I can only do it every 10th of a second. Yeah, that's great. So I guess that maybe makes sense because our builder system actually only processes a new builder every like, I don't know, however often it receives a frame. And if I click between the frames, it actually only receives one builder.
I think
So
what's happening.
it's eating events.
Yeah, our input handling is coalescing events, right? Like if you
essentially.
do,
It's the last event that wins.
Exactly, last one wins. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Last one wins is tricky, right? I think what you want it probably is that if it ever happens. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm okay with the state of the world right now because at least it makes sense.
Yes.
But yeah, I was thinking especially if you wanted to do like subtle motion, like subtle motion for the player actually involves like much finer than, and really like 10 response from the server a second is probably generous. Like 7 would be a really great response time. And you lose so much granularity unless we buffer the client side input 60 times a second and then like are sending the server like actually a feed of those, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's our round trip ping? What do we expect it to be? 200 milliseconds?
Probably,
right?
But I would want to send more than a single impulse direction.
Yeah.
Every 200 milliseconds, right? Like that would make it hard to dodge on the server.
So, I'm trying to think here. What is the? This is where like I kind of have no idea what best practice is. But does the server actually simulate at 60 frames a second, or even like the server can actually simulate like hundreds of frames a second, right? That's probably the reality of it, right? I actually think actual games, they do multiple simulation frames per render frame because that's just how long it takes to render, right?
I think the server should be simulating 60.
Okay.
And taking like it's going to be taking inputs at like completely random times, and then it's basically sending out like world state to the client at as fast interval as it can.
Yeah, so basically our kind of monkeying around in main.tsx is a good simulation, but it's not. We need one more layer of indirection, which is that the server and the client are both updating at 60, but the inputs are being delayed and potentially arriving at the same like similar frames on either end, right? So like it's the messaging between the client and server that's being kind of crunched together, time dilated, and lagged, right?
Yeah. So really there is server loop is like server. What's a good word for coalesce that isn't coalesce? Resolution loop. Like this is us getting updates that are like, here's the world state. But in fact, there's an entire one of these, right? That's doing server game loop.
Yes.
Almost for a different game object, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have anything that's modeling the communication between the two sides right now, I think is what you're getting at.
I guess server update kind of is.
Yes, it is in both directions. Yeah.
In both directions. But we have nothing that's running the server simulation. And we have nothing that's running. Yeah, we just don't have anything running the server simulation, I think. And we don't have a way for the client. It's interesting, actually. The client could be running every one of these server commands perfectly, and we just like is that the first step of prediction? Is actually have the client just keep running the simulation loop and have a way to overwrite. I guess we immediately get into like you actually need to buffer and go back in time. So maybe we should start doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. Where prediction runs the simulation loop, but it can only run certain pieces of the simulation loop. But I'm starting to appreciate now the system division that we have right now, because then we can like really cleanly divide like if this is not authoritative state that the client has the right to decide on, it should be a different system that the client doesn't run. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, like anything that destroys an object should not be client simulated.
No.
Yeah.
Although the client could predict destruction and then show, I think you're not supposed to do that. I think death is something you're just not supposed to decide on the client side, and not even show the side
It seems
effects of.
fraught. Yeah. Right. You should show like we'll show the damage hits, but we wouldn't want to show the entity disappearing until the server says like actually very dead. Yes.
And we've successfully been able to avoid this in YOLO RTS, but you remember in Breakout we did a lot of faking it. We're now getting into the realm of like
Time to fake it.
right? And that it influences lots of things. It influences your weapon design, right?
Mhm.
It influences like your how you render special effects and stuff like that. You can't even like I don't know. I'd be curious to know how games deal with like one hit kill style mechanics, like sniper rifles and that kind of thing, headshots. Because you want the player to like feel like they like like one hit kill somebody, but you don't know until potentially a half a second later whether it actually happened or not. So that's an interesting thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really man, it's kind of breaking my brain. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna posit this is our simulation.
I would agree, including the game state transitions. But the game state transit, like you have that fix me there. But yeah,
I was gonna say this should only be run by the server. Right now, in our sort of like server is still in the client mode, like only the server update does this and entities update because this is what deletes entities.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm thinking like if we wanted to start with prediction, it would be running these systems repeatedly on the client as well and being able to say like step simulation. So I was gonna say like in fact we should call like step simulation.
Oh, so when you say simulation, you mean this is our predictable state? It's
our predictable state, and it's also what the server runs. So it's that shared like both can step forward, and then like the client needs to coalesce, right?
Yeah, I would say the damageable might be the one thing that we need to split up into.
That's probably true. Yeah. And that's
it's
probably
like
fine.
it's like the attack system. The attack system will in-queue hit events that the damageable system will consume, but the attack system can't actually kill players, for example, right?
Right.
Nor should it maybe even like damage them. It should show effects. It should show the hit as like explosion or whatever.
But this is the event.
That is what the damageable system should be handling.
So this
we don't even have a damageable system right now, right? We don't have a take damage system.
We do.
Oh, we do. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What does that do?
I think if you're less than 0, it drops and kills you.
Oh, so this is the death system.
True, but the attack it could respond. So I guess what I was saying is that what this like lines 59 to 62 are the event that the attack system should be sending out. And really it's that like not all of our system, like all our input is evented now, but all of our systems aren't quite evented yet.
Yeah, and then there's the trick of line 62, which is that projectiles might be one of those weird intermediate things where you kind of don't want the client to continue rendering the bullet after the client saw the bullet explode.
I agree with that, yeah.
But the bullet needs to exist on the server side for the purposes of simulation.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the nice thing is that the client should not. If we weren't sharing entity state, it wouldn't be a real issue, right? Because like the client could say like yes, bullet goes away, but server actually doesn't.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so like once we stop sharing, we can actually this is fine.
But would you say that line 61 is the thing that we need to turn into a message?
Yeah,
or even just hit. It's not even that like you can
right.
You can tell the the damageable system, like who hit what, and then the damageable system takes care of the actual application of that state change, which is the
Right. This is just two entity IDs, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is to do. Well, I guess it's everything. It's the client and the server can both run this event.
Yeah.
Both delete their own bullets.
Yep. I think you're absolutely right, and then the client should not be running Line63, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the explosion should not be running the server side. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. This is client only. Ah, so interesting. Shit, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't kidding. I'm glad we're doing this now instead of.
Oh yeah, this is the perfect time to be doing it. I think we got to the point where we had enough significant features that this mattered.
Mm-hmm. Now, so here's a wild question.
Yeah.
Should we do this? And then get our motion going, and then try to re-add systems. Like, should we do one system at a time instead of trying to like spiderweb this entire mess together into one evented system? Because like tank mover is enough. Like, what do we do with tank mover? I'm actually pretty interested in like, can we do the one at a time, and like we probably have to.
That makes a lot of sense.
We have to do two entity lists, so like we might as well like figure it out now and then just bring them back one by one.
We're going to refactor on the way. We're going to realize, oh shit, the way that we move messages around is not right. Or we're going to say, oh crap, we need a way of the server identifying, like, how do you even get IDs? I guess they're all GUIDs, right? I guess GUIDs is like going to be the way that we do coordination-free unique ID generation. Is just going to be UUIDs, right?
Yeah. Right, but we need those IDs to come from the server to the client too, right? Like we need to share them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And then like, if you predict the creation of an entity on, so this is interesting, right? If you predict the creation of an entity on the client side, how do you correlate that entity ID with the one that's generated on the server side?
That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, it's probably something like, we have like a create entity event.
Oh, and then like, you tag the create entity event.
My UUID, and then the response is my UUID, global UUID or something. And then you update.
Yeah.
Sorry, wait, this is outgoing and incoming.
Wait, are you saying that the client makes essentially an API call against the server to create entities, or?
I'm thinking that the client enqueues an event into whatever messages it's sending to the server. That's like, God, this is a lot of data because it's like I fired a bullet.
Yeah, I want to see how far we can get with the rule that all we send over the wire from client to server is input events. And nothing higher level than that. Does that? And then like it might be that will be horrible and it'll suck, and we have to go back and like start to make it a little bit more abstract than that. But I want to see what will happen if we can just say, all we're gonna do is send.
Input.
I hit go up. I hit fire, and that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's start with maybe. I think I'm convincing myself that I actually want two things, which is I'd also like this. Oh, no, you know what? Fuck it. That's too much work. Let's start here.
Okay. Yeah, and the mover, because you should be able to drive through walls right now, right?
I can drive through everything. Correct. Which I am currently fine with, because sending the message that you need to go backwards is a whole different message.
Yeah.
I guess yeah. So let's see if we can make a stab at it, right?
Okay.
We've got the tank mover.
Can I ask you a random question?
Yeah.
Where are you hiking today?
Nowhere now.
Oh, because the rain?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Oh, it's okay. I was gonna go to Open Redwoods, but that's fine.
it's kind of dry now. I bet you guys could go.
Yeah, it's kind of already. Everyone's already redone their plans, so
Oh.
it's okay.
Wow, people move quick. Even in the
I would-
pandemic, when nobody has plans, it's just
We had a thunderstorm, man. It's a rare event.
it is.
Nah, it's fine.
Okay, sorry about that.
No. I honestly, I kind of like this time for Sundays. So
Well, let me show you a dope thing, and if you feel like you want to get out of the house anyways,
yeah. What you got for me? Whoa.
is it gonna? Can you see my laptop stand right there? And
Oh,
my
yeah,
two
yeah.
laptops.
Uh-huh.
I've got one for you if you want, so you can come by and pick it up if you need.
Oh, I'd love that. That'd be great. Yeah. Are you around the house this afternoon?
Yes, I am.
Are you going? Are people going anywhere?
I'm not. I didn't have Redwood plans to begin with, so I was just gonna be here, and I was probably gonna play games or.
Heck yeah. No, I just love the like. Is anyone gonna actually like be out of the house in general? The answer is almost always no.
I wanted to try
yeah.
out your keyboard, but I feel like I should wait until the whole coronavirus thing is over.
You're welcome to use it. I mean, you can just do the quarantine procedure, right? Wait 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'll swap keyboards. I got an extra magic one lying around, so
I don't want to take it away from you for now. Like,
okay.
I just wanted to try the red switches because I think I like the compact form factor of the K1. It's nice.
You could I could bring it and you could wear some gloves and like tap on it.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could do that.
Yeah. I'm not worried about you, so whatever. Or I'm not worried about you making my keyboard a contagion. So whatever
Okay,
feels
cool.
good
I can
for
also
you.
just wipe it down. That's
Yeah, totally.
I've got all the tools. Okay, well, whatever. So you got something to do today if you feel like it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Nice.
What was I doing? Oh, tank mover. Yeah, wait, tank mover. Shit, you were saying something. I forgot.
I don't even know. I was asking you when you were going to go hiking, and you told me no.
Yep.
So I think what we're talking about is like we need to actually implement messaging, client-server messaging.
Yes, that's right.
And Motion, I agree with you, is more than enough to span probably a couple of sessions.
We'll be doing this for a minute. And yeah, I think there might be something in here that's like
Predicts.
run client prediction simulation.
Yeah.
And a very similar. So as I say, it looks like this, and suddenly it works. Oh, it works too fast. It's getting run twice. So that's broken in its own way.
It works too fast.
Because tank mover is actually reading input twice.
Oh, and it's applying it twice.
It's applying it twice,
it's
and
incremental. Yes. Okay.
Interestingly, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like my movement is 60 frames per second, but every 10th of a second it jumps because when the server update hits, it gets like a ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Yeah. So it's basically 60 FPS with an extra little boost every 10th of a second. Yeah. I couldn't see it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Okay, so we've got. I feel like. Oh man, this is such a tough thing to unwrap. So we've got our source of events here, with player input.
Yeah.
Do
we have a?
God, hang on, sorry. I'm just. No. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do we maybe set at the game level a message queue? Just like in this frame, we've accumulated these events, ship them over to the server, and then we got to like simulate the transmission of those messages.
Yep, I think that makes sense. So it's interesting actually because we're gonna send. If I hold the up key for a second, we're gonna send 60 60 direction events. Is that weird?
Yeah, so we're getting into the question that you raised last time, which is how do we synchronize events between the client and the server? Because the client is going to generate more events than the server can handle.
Because so maybe there's just some like player movement events and then server responses.
Are our semantics correct? Is it player moved up or is it players holding down up key? Right.
Yeah. Well, and also, is it like is the event right? I think the event might be, player holding up timestamp, and then
and then
player release or player holding null timestamp. And like from here to here, the server and the client apply impulse for that time duration.
Exactly. And then we need to be super crisp about what the timestamps mean, right? The timestamps are like, is it the client's sample timestamp or is it the server's sample timestamp? And then I also imagine that I think every timestamp, maybe we shouldn't get this too far ahead, but like I can kind of imagine it being a tuple of both the frame, like like just an integer frame counter, and the timestamp as well. Because I can imagine wanting both of those pieces of information at different times.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if the tuple's the right. It could be that it's an object that says like frame index timestamp, something like
totally.
that. Yeah.
Do we have to worry about? God, frame index shit always scares me because like, what happens if the client starts calculating fewer frames because of performance, or like the laptop can only go at 30? Like, do we lose coordination there?
Yes, that's a great question. And then also, what frame are we talking about in the client side? Because the client actually has two notions of frames. It has the notion of the animation frame that's rendering, but it also has the notion of the simulation frame that's currently on. And the simulation frame that's currently on is the last thing that it got from the server,
right?
Potentially plus however many frames it's attempted to simulate, right? To predict.
Gosh.
Okay, so let's actually think of three different loops. Maybe we need to actually do this.
Okay.
We need a 60 FPS simulation loop on the client side that doesn't do rendering. And then a 60 FPS, or just a request anim frame on the client side that does rendering. And so...
Right, because this is where DT that we get from that is fine.
Yes, and then we need a 60 FPS client server simulation loop that is eventually happening in a separate process, right?
Yep.
And so I actually think this is the way a lot of the games work, is that they have to write it so that they assume the same simulation frame rate on both the client and server side.
Gotcha.
And that way, probably the language of timestamps or frame indices that are being sent back and forth between the client and server are at least like legible, right? Like,
right, because when I hand the server, like I send the server at frame 45, I picked up my finger. The server's going to receive that on the server's frame like 70, right? And it needs to like go back and be like, okay, wait, hang on, I'm going to subtract whatever impulse I was doing between now and then.
Yeah,
I like this. I like this key currently down because you can go backwards in like an equal direction.
Yeah.
Basically, like once you figure out what your delta is, you can unmove.
Yeah, I feel like the more I think about it, like some homework is in order. Like I mean, obviously we can stumble around and discover this stuff at the same time, but it may also help us to simultaneously be doing a little bit of reading. I'll send you what I've read so far.
Okay, please. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like is there anything that's come out that stood out as like the algorithm, or is it
Yeah.
is a lot of it like, well, it's tricky and you have to like tune it to your own needs?
But you would think structurally, the problem that we're talking about is something that's like,
This.
if not a solved problem, at least there are like several recommended approaches with their trade-offs, right? And
Yeah.
they will. I'm hoping that there's an idea of like, okay, well, what is the message structure like that you're delivering from the client to server? What does the server actually do with that? What is the message structure that the server sends back to the client, and what does the client do with that, right? I'm assuming that there are several established patterns for the things that we're talking about here. And, we could even just like go back and read like the Quake 2 source code, right? Like that's like, it's been
Sure.
studied, and they probably have some notion of how this works.
Whew, gosh. Okay.
Is your brain hurting
Yeah.
yet?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should go back to the drawing board and try to construct a simple example that actually uses a server too. Because I wonder if we will continue to sort of step on our own toes trying to keep it in one process. I think it's manageable.
I think it's manageable. I think we're actually okay.
Yeah.
In fact, we could probably factor out the client simulation loop right now.
I mean, I just did. It's that, right?
Yeah. What I meant is like not doing any prediction. What I'm saying is that under main.tsx, we actually we don't use a request random frame here. All request random frame does is render and maybe update the particle system if we consider that outside of the realm. Yeah, exactly. And then we have a client simulation loop that works like the server one.
Gotcha.
Set timeouts, yeah.
And really, it sets timeout very early, right? Like it's actually like we want this to run every 60th of a second, not after it's processed then plus a 60th. It actually needs to be like in lockstep. Am I crazy?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This takes time, and it should take less than 1/60th, but also this needs to be queued up on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually okay for the client simulation loop and the request random frame to be out of sync. That's just judder at that point. When I say judder, it means like you're rendering different numbers of simulation frames per animation frame.
Oh, it's okay for the render and the simulate to be out of sync, but it's not okay for the simulation and the server to be out of sync. Like they both need to be running 60 per second, not like 58 per second, depending on how long it takes to run update.
I don't think it matters as long as client update's not doing any prediction.
As long as client update's not doing any prediction. Oh, okay.
Actually, I think it would be fine. I kind of wonder what would happen if we just ran it right now.
I'm working on it. Let's see. This is render. Why is this unhappy? It's defined but never used.
Oh, we need to actually call it.
Right. Okay. This is client sim. I see. Yeah. Oops.
And then 53, maybe we can get rid of 42 and put 53. We just need that a let.
Does this not need? This still needs a
We don't need a delta for the render at all.
Oh shit! You're right. Great. Good point.
You could actually argue that we should have had the structure between, like, even if we did all the server-side simulation inside client update, like, you could argue that the definition, like, the distinction between client render loop and client simulation loop, we should have had all the time. That would have been a simpler refactor. But it should feel fine now, if I'm not mistaken.
It feels extremely fine. Oops. Let's see. So this feels quite fast, actually. That's interesting.
Does it feel faster than before?
It does. Let me take it. If I take out the client simulation loop, then it doesn't move. But if I do this and do this at 60,
Are we still
Okay.
simulating the motion? Are we? I think this is the client update. Still have the mover in it.
that's probably the case. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry.
Yeah.
Game. It does have the mover, but that's what we want, correct? Wait, this feels really good now. Why does it feel so good? Oh.
So this is correct. This is kind of like ideally if you had like instant transport between the server and client. And
That's. Wait, I'm confused.
yeah, I'm
'cause-
confused. I'm now confused actually.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
should be it should be like 1/6 of
Oh,
the speed.
check
Oh,
it out,
oh,
because
yeah. No,
this is
that's-
very wrong, and we don't request animation frame. Whoo, weird. Okay, great. And if we run prediction, I expect to see my jitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's totally visible here.
And interestingly, it jumps backwards now too.
Yeah, and now what happens? What happens if on line 65 you turn that into 1,000 divided by 60? That should feel relatively smooth, right?
It does. What's so odd is that this exhibits a new behavior, which is the player jumping forward then jumping back. I hadn't seen that before. I guess it's that.
Well, they're all operating on the same state right now, right? So I don't understand why it would be jumping back.
Oh, and the client update is not simulating the tank mover.
Interesting.
Is render doing anything unexpected? Not really. It seems like it almost seems like the position is. Oops. It seems like the position is like getting set twice somehow,
Oh,
but I can't figure out why that would be the case.
Yeah.
This does not modify transform. It really just sets next input. Interesting.
yeah.
Is there any Huh. Oh, you got me there.
All right. Well, we've got a mystery to solve for next time, I think.
Plenty. I'm going to put this on a branch, actually.
Okay, that makes sense.
Many loops. Interesting. Yeah, I would like to figure it out. Let me make sure I called everything correctly. Server loop, client simulation loop, and client render loop. And maybe just because I'm... Yeah, okay. It really wasn't even the position of that. So
Yeah. I would expect the whole last one wins semantics that we were having before, where
yeah.
you're only receiving 1/6 of the player input that you actually want.
Mhm.
That's what I would have expected, like the tank driving essentially 1/6 of its speed.
As would I. Or rather, it should drive at the correct... It's driving at the correct speed.
Is it?
Yeah, just extremely jittery.
Are you simulating right now? We're not. We're not predicting right now, right?
We're not predicting now. If I turn on prediction... Oops. Should keep that one commented out. Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Always twice. Now it drives at the same state smoothly and has a jump in it
That
when the
looks
server...
faster to me. But
what's interesting is that the... Well, yeah. Yeah, it is fast. It's faster and still jittery. Interesting. Okay.
because what I would expect right now is that the client is sending or the client is setting the input state 60 frames a second. The server is only reading it
Correct.
at 1/6 the speed, and so therefore you're only actually getting the updates at 1/6 the speed. So I would have expected the tank to be significantly slower, but that appears to be not.
Well, but the server update should be running. It's running with the delta
time.
between.
Oh, okay, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it runs at the same speed. It just updates much less frequently, which is fine.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. We already made it frame rate independent, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we just did. Well, sort of. It depends if we try to synchronize the frame rate of the loops, but otherwise, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This is weird. Okay.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah. This is gonna be a lot. Yeah, let's do some research. This feels right, and I think probably what comes next is that this becomes a buffer. So we'll sort that out.
Mm-hmm. And then we need to know, like, if we tag it with like the last known server frame.
Mm-hmm.
Current predicted for I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of there's so many events to pass around.
Yeah, and even how to describe the events is the thing that I'm like kind of struggling with right now. Like, when did it happen? Is actually like, well, to whom are you talking about? Is it the perspective of the lockstep movement of the client simulation, which may be interrupted by like Alt Tab or something like that, right? Going to a different application. Is it probably it's like however many simulation frames have advanced since the last server frame. Does that make sense? So it's like a complex number. It's like server frame. It's like the client frame is always like server X plus prediction Y, right? It's a vector.
And it's weird because like when the server event comes in, it's like how many, like the server is going to tell the client how many events I've simulated since the last message I sent you.
Yeah.
And that's still going to be in the past for the client probably because it will transfer over the wire in that last 100 milliseconds.
And then
so
I think one of the things that I've maybe not thought about too much is like, does the server also do reconciliation where the server will actually go back in time and apply client events in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Will the server go like, oh, actually, I realized you hit the button 3 frames ago, so I'm going to like rewind the state of the world by three frames and then replay your input.
Mm-hmm. Do we need to keep a list of entities per frame?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, so I know what you're saying. Like, rather than saying this entity died from server to client, because the server's going to broadcast that event like, hey, this person's now dead. Rather than doing that, I think what it has to be is like, here's a list. Here's the totality of the state right now, and whatever you have right now, clobber it and take what I'm telling you, or at least interpolate from what you currently have to what I'm telling you. No one said this was going to be easy.
No.
Games clearly don't do this correctly because you see the side effects of it all the time.
This is exactly as hard as I expected. So
yes,
doing good. Okay, cool. Well,
great.
let's do some research and pick this up on Wednesday.
If they could add NetPlay to Stardew Valley, I think we can add to YOLO RTS, right?
It took them a while.
It did take them a while.
And I haven't done Stardew Valley NetPlay. I don't know how good it is.
It looks really fun. I don't know.
Is it? Oh, you haven't tried? I'm curious if
I haven't tried it yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious if you can witness sort of like a rubber band or a little lag somehow.
It has a bit of the Animal Crossing problem, which is that it's one person's farm. So it's like capitalism simulator a little bit. Like, do I really want to work for somebody else's? Do I want to grind for somebody else?
I'm such a big fan of those, those kind of games. It'd be fun to make one where it's just like you both have your own in this sort of like city network, and you could pop between the two.
Yeah. What is that? What is that game? EVE Online? The ones with like the massive fleets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is actually also like there are head honchos who like strategize everything and there's middle management, and then there's peons flying the individual ships, right?
Man, the thing about that game is like I just don't want another job.
Yeah,
And Eve always sounds like a job to me.
yeah, for
No
sure.
matter how it's described, I'm just like, no, thank you.
I've been thinking about MMOs though, and like I kind of want to play one, but I don't know which one to start with. Did you ever play any MMOs? I don't count Destiny.
No, but it's close. I played World of Warcraft in high school briefly, but the MMO game loop really doesn't grab me.
Okay.
For which I'm grateful, because if it does, it's terrifyingly addictive, I think.
Yes, I was thinking maybe Final Fantasy 14. Is that which is the one that's the is it 15 or 14?
14. Did you watch the movie about that? Because
No.
it made me cry.
What?
Sorry, hang on. It's called Brave Father Online. You should watch this movie about Final Fantasy 14 because it's fucking charming.
Oh, this is great.
It's like really good.
Wait, is it a documentary or is it?
No, it's like based on a true story.
Holy shit!
I don't know where it's playing, but it's like a real theatrical movie.
And it's like I guess it's not really an advertisement because like FF14 in Japan is probably like World of Warcraft in America, where it's like enough of a cultural artifact that like making a movie about it is not
Right. It feels like an advertisement. Well, it's weird. It like does and doesn't.
Okay.
Kind of in the same way that do you remember that like famous South Park episode about World of Warcraft where they were like spent the whole thing being a World of Warcraft ad? It kind of feels like that, but like heartwarming.
the
Instead
one
of
where
that
the end of
bullshit.
the where they beat the game and it was like you are gay or something
Yeah.
like that. Or I
Yeah,
think they
yeah,
used
exactly. That was like the punchline.
the other
Yeah.
F word, right? Like something like
Yep,
that.
yep. Honestly, dude, this movie was it was like a good movie in so many ways.
I'm into
You
it.
should watch it. Yeah, if you're like I feel like an MMO, you should watch this and then realize that Final Fantasy 14 is like free on PlayStation or something.
Oh, gosh, I heard good things about the expansion. It's called Shadowbringers or something like that.
Everyone seems to like that game a lot, actually. Yeah,
So this is
I think it's free to start. I think,
Oh,
which is how
great.
they get you.
all right. Well, I'll meter my life choices. I have too many games I want to play. Like I want to go back and like replay Horizon Zero Dawn now that it's like out on PC. And I might even replay it on PS4 just because everyone else is playing on PC, and I just want to like play the version that I've got. But I
Yeah, we
also
need
kind
that
of want,
sick RTX.
yeah, I kind of want to play Witcher 3 on the RTX actually, and it's free on Xbox Game Pass.
Man, I haven't signed up for that yet, but once I do,
Witcher 3 is like the dopest game. It's so good.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Dom. I will stop the stream now, and
Sweet.
we'll see everybody on Wednesday.
Goodbye, Twitch.